Hi, Maureen here for Detailed Church, here with another ukulele lesson for you today. We're working on our G chord, which we worked on in our previous lesson, but this time we are going to our D chord, not our D7, that's a very different chord. We're going to our D chord, which I know many of you struggle with, so might be a video you really find helpful. So we're going to start first by reviewing our G chord. And your G chord looks like this, just in case you have forgotten. It looks like a triangle, so we're going to start with our pointer finger on our, wrong way. We're going to start with it on our C string. We're going to put our middle finger on our A string. Both of those are in the 2nd fret. And we're going to reach with our ring finger to the E string in the 3rd fret. So when you strum that, that is our G chord. So the next one is a wee bit harder. It is our D chord, and there it is down there at the bottom. A lot of you have struggled with this because you're struggling trying to figure out how to put all of your fingers in the same fret, all 3 strings in a row. One day we're going to learn something called a B minor chord, where we're going to bar it, and that means we push all of the strings down with 1 finger. You can try to do that with this. I know a few of you have been successful where you can push 1, 2, 3 strings down with just the tip of your finger. My finger doesn't quite bend that way, so I'm not able to do this one. So I'm going to teach it to you the way that I do it. But if you're able to do that where you can push them all down with 1 finger, feel free, especially if that's more comfortable for you. So if you have a larger ukulele like I do, I have a tenor size ukulele. My daughter has the middle size, and my son has the smallest one. So the smaller ones are really hard to squeeze your fingers in. So you're going to see that it's going to be a little bit easier on mine if you have a smaller one, and the skill is a little bit harder. So what you're going to do, you're going to start with your pointer finger. We're going to start it on our G string. We're going to tuck our middle finger right behind it. My fingers are actually touching, like the nail of my middle finger is on the back of my pointer finger, and that's on our C string in the 2nd fret. We're going to tuck our ring finger right behind it. Again, my fingers are touching. All of my nails are resting on the pad of the previous finger, and my ring finger is back there on our E string. If you look, they're on a diagonal, not necessarily a straight line like the picture suggests. So you might find that if you're trying to make your hand do that, you really need to cock it in a really uncomfortable way. As long as you get them on the same fret, we will get the correct chord. So your D chord should sound like this. You notice that one set of them is exactly the same set of pitches. If you do your top string, your G, and your bottom string, you notice that they are the same pitch. And that's the way it works on the ukulele when you're making chords. If for some reason you are strumming and you're not getting every note, there are 2 options. One, you are not pushing down hard enough. If you don't push your string all the way down, it has this weird, if you push it down all the way, it will make the correct sound. So first try pushing a little bit harder. Because you are smashing your fingers into 1 fret, sometimes your fingertips will slide onto the metal part of the fret. It makes this dud kind of sound. Really, you know you're doing it, but it's just not coming out right. So just double check that your fingers are on the wood, not the metal. Most likely those are the 2 things that might be causing your chord to not come out correctly. So the challenge we have found in class is going between the G and the D, because we've seen the G and the D in many of our songs. When I practice going from D to G, I know this finger and this finger are going to stay in the same fret. The only one that needs to leave is my ring finger. He's going to end up going down. So it's a little bit of planning ahead. Much of like what I do in piano comes in handy for ukulele. So I go from my D, this guy comes over, this guy skips one, this guy reaches down. So here's my G. Then I come up to my D. I go back to my D. Here's my G, back to my D. So a lot of it is just thinking in your head, how do I get around the block that is known as the wonderful D chord to the G chord, and trying to figure out how to convince your hands to just do it in the most methodical fashion. So together, we're going to go from our G chord. So let's start back in familiar territory. Let's strum our G chord 4 times. And then we're going to go to our D chord for 4 times, and we'll go back and forth between them a couple times just to get a little more comfortable with it. And then you can practice it on your own as you are able. So find your G chord, and let's do it together. 1, 2, ready, go. Here's your G. 3. Here's your D. 1, 2, 3, 4. G chord. 2, 3, 4. D. 2, 3, 4. G. 2, 3, 4. D. 2. And let's end on a G chord. Well, I hope that helps many of you work on your G to your D. It's a very challenging chord sequence to nail, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So practice, 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 and you will be just fine. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on our next video. Thanks.